So thank you all for watching. Version 0.9 has finally arrived. It's been quite a while since I've done a video, and that is because I've been focusing on coding the next update. So today it's here, it's 0.9, and I'm going to show you all about it. Now, before we get started, Michael has been very kind to send in this little PCB. Well, little is quite, if this is my head and this is a board, it's quite a big board. Whoa, hold up. Did I just say I got a big head? For the Cessna 182. You can also use this for the 172. It just has a little extra connector for propellers, etc. and some other going on. Doesn't really matter. Now, Mike has been very kind and sent in 2 PCBs. Later in this video, I will tell you how you can be the one that receives one of these boards with some components to go with it. This used to be version 0.8.8. It was great, it worked. I had a little bit of a blast. It was fun. You guys enjoyed it. We tweaked it. We fixed some things, and it was at a decent state. We had some here. We could send, I believe, radios and receive radios. I know that we could. Here we could send variables to our boards, our Arduino boards, and here we could receive data. So throttle sending data towards the game. Here we got sending data to the game and receiving the frequencies, and here we had just receiving from the game to our board. All fine and handy. Imagine I'm constantly working on this, so if I have to change something in either one of these, I'd have to click, and then I could, these didn't even do anything in the end, so this doesn't really matter. I had to select the board, then I had to go here, hit start, then I had to go here, hit start here, and then over here hit start, and then stop each one of them on a different page. And it was really a hassle, not really user friendly. Sorry guys that I put you through this. So here it is. One screen, inputs, outputs, and dual in one place, making it really easy to just fine tune on what you'd like, what you'd need, and hit start individually. Now, why don't I use a single button to start and stop? Really simple. Let's say you're in flight, inputs, outputs, dual. You got your inputs running. You want to tweak something with the outputs. So then you just stop the outputs, do whatever you want to, change to, I don't know, another set, hit start again. And this one keeps on running while this one gets a reset. So it gives a bit more leeway on how you can use it, a bit more modular and a bit more user-friendly, making sure that you don't have to disable all your components at once. Okay, so what is this? I did say sets, but fuel, altitudes, autopilots. For you guys, these will be empty when you boot up. Nothing in it and nothing to see. I believe you can still hit start, but I have a feeling things might crash when you do that. So I need to put in a little failsafe there, but for now it works. So we're just gonna have fun with it. Now I went to the outputs field, hit outputs. We can see that I have a list of fuel, altitude, and autopilot. For you it's empty as well, but you have the set name and save set button. So here I'd say new set I need. Pretty straightforward. It has a name. I hit save, and now it comes into this list. You might notice that the UI gets messed up a little bit. It's going to get some attention. I'm going to hit edit, and I see that I'm going to hit edit, and there's going to be a long list of functions of data you can receive and send to the board. With autopilot data, I don't care, GPS ground speed, I'm going to do the parameter pressure, strobe lights. I'm going to hit save edit down below. Now if I hit edit again, I can now see a little list of what's in here and what's not. Currently it's not dynamically updating, so if I now disable this, it will still be in the list, but that's something for the future because that's more nice to have. This is just to get it working. Now I got my sets. In this case, you can also see you got AP master on, AP heading lock, AP altitude lock. We got our altitudes, feet above ground, indicated altitude, fuel quantity, percentage, and total quantity. So those are the sets that I made up for this little test. So I don't really need this one, so I hit delete and it's gone. I'm going to look at outputs again, fuel, altitude, autopilots. Nice and handy. So now we've got each of these individual. We select the board, COM14. There's an empty one here. If you add a new one, currently you need to restart the connector to have it appear in the list. I want to make sure that this refresh button was giving me a little bit of a headache with the sets, but I'll make sure that in the next update this will be fixed, and that each time you boot up, it will load up the latest set that you've used. In this case, it always reverts to fuel because it's the first one, and the old one that we just deleted is still in this list while it's not over here. It's just something to keep in mind, and we can each individually start these. While it's not running because the game's not running, but you get the drift. Another bug that is present that currently you see that I've COM4 Arduino Micro and COM14 Arduino Leonardo. The moment we boot up, so we open the program, there is a chance that COM4, it will recognize the 4, but it will see that in 14 there is also a 4, and you get a little bit of a mismatch, and so I need to make sure that that disappears as well. So yeah, let's just see how it works in flight and how you can be using it in your game. What we're going to be using today is the default Honeycomb yoke. We're going to have a custom trim wheel going on. We got ourselves the throttle propeller mixture. We've got the Thrustmaster rudder pedals. And of course, we're going to have a special setup of a screen that displays the fuel in percentages. And another little contraption that shows whether the AP master is on, AP altitude lock is on, and 3 buttons to activate it. Okay, so you don't want to know how many times I had to restart this game to show you guys this. We're going to hit the connector, micro, pro micro. We're going to be sending the fuel to the Leonardo. I was just running the wrong version. That explains quite a bit. Okay, so here we go. If I'm correct, we've got a throttle working. Trim wheel. Ooh, that was quite a... No matter, it's working. We've got the fuel on our center display, 48% if I'm correct. Oh, this one is wrong. It's going to crash because it always does for some reason. So I was editing this video and I came across this section where I said it will always crash. Don't worry, this bug is fixed. Let's get on with it. Does it? Yeah, it does. So I need to fix this bug before we release it. Okay, so I've loaded in the vicinity of Nice. We've got a connector running. Well, not running yet, but we've got everything set up. We've got COM4 for our throttle, we've got COM12 for our trim wheel, we've got COM14 for the fuel display, and COM8 for the autopilot. So I'm going to start, and start. So let's see if we can actually... This one works, the throttle, mixture works, trim wheel, yep, definitely works. Autopilot is engaged, so we can currently see that the light is on our little DUDEC device, but to make it even more clear what is happening, if I turn it off from the autopilot here, the light goes off. So without touching the buttons, the light went on and off, but if I touch the button, autopilot engages and the light goes on. And that's the most important part, that we've started the autopilot with the same board that we received that the autopilot is on. We've also got an altitude hold. Here we go. And we can see that the second light on the board lights up as well. So it's a Boolean state. I will bundle all the codes of these little doodads that I'm using, put them on my website and link them in the description below, so you've got everything in one place and you can fiddle around with yourself how this works and how you can create something yourself. Because it's really simple. It just needs a little bit of coding, but once it's set up, it's just a matter of hitting the start button. So I'm going to turn off the autopilot, turn off the altitude holds. Here we go. I've got something bound to this one, but I'm not even sure what it is. Doesn't really matter. I don't even know if I really bound something to it. Did I? Does something change in this plane? No, it doesn't. Now we've got a fuel. Do we actually have a visual? Here we go, 48%. You see, if I lower this, the fuel goes down as well. If I up this, the fuel goes up as well. So that's working. And now we can really see where this update shines. We've got 4 boards, all with very specific tasks. And the data that goes to it or comes from it is really bundled into one stream. So let's say I want to stop this. I can still use the throttle. Output's not working anymore, but that's fine, because I told it to. And now if I hit start again, the outputs work for the fuel as well. Now I just saw that it crashed to desktop, so it's not completely true what I was saying. Well, it doesn't crash desktop to connect it. It's just that I need to find a way to close this properly when I put the stop button. There's something going wrong, I just need to check what's going wrong. So you owe me that one before release. Ripple cell, very responsive. I don't have the feeling, I even have the feeling it all is a little bit smoother. Well, pedals going on, here we go. I've loaded up in the 172 because A, it's a plane that's easily recognized, and we can easily zoom in, like autopilot on, light goes on, autopilot off. You can see the red flickering and the light is off. Use the button, same result. So yeah, this really opens up a whole new array of possibilities. I want to be looking into creating wireless controllers. Imagine this wireless trim wheel you can just mount to your chair, and you can trim it, just recharge the battery, etc. Now you've got other tools out there that make it possible for you to have a very specific board and then set things up very easily. Now, I must agree, those, if you want a quick and easy solution, those ones are amazing. Think about multi-flight or something. This is more if you want to use all the edge cases. Imagine you want to, like my coffee maker video. I made a video on how you can make coffee when you land. Welcome to Dave Reacts to his old videos. Here we have it, our coffee maker. We've landed and the coffee is grinding.
It's running.
Let's start replay.
Servo going wild.
I still get tingles inside when I see this.
And I hear it dripping out.
But this is what I mean, the edge cases.
This is it, guys.
Anything you can imagine, we can create it. It was automated, it sends a signal to a board, the board sends a Wi-Fi signal to my coffee maker that had a ESP32 connected to it, and it made coffee. Now, not really that useful in flight simming, totally agree, but imagine if you got your toggle box, got your room lighting. I've got some smart lights that I'm working on that I want the game states to display. So it really gives more out of the box possibilities. Doesn't matter which board you connect to it, you can send data and receive data as long as it has a serial over USB protocol. I've been using Arduinos because A, people can relate to it, B, they're cheap, and C, the examples and the libraries that already exist are a good starting point for people that are just starting out. So they don't have to, you know, learning how to program an STM32 can be a bit of a higher step for beginners than it is to program an Arduino. So that's the only reason I've been using Arduinos. I've been using a TNC as well if I want to really beef the thing out. So all possible. And like I said, I don't want to, my goal isn't to become better than something like a mobile flight or something. It's just a totally different tool for a different audience, I think, or not. Perhaps if you like both, you know, just pick the one that works best for you. What surprised me is the stability in this. Like, I don't know, it just feels, I expected it to be worse, but the responsiveness, everything working in conjunction is just really amazing. We can see the fuel is at 74% currently. Do we have unlimited fuel on? No, we don't, right? But you can display anything that you'd like. Once again, right now we've got our fuel set up, but we could create anything that we'd like, edit. Just pick anything and you're good to go. Don't forget to hit the save button at the bottom and close the window. That's it. I'm not quite sure there's a refresh button here that refreshes the COM list if you plug in a new board. Take out a new board. The moment you create a new set, it's very important to relaunch the connector The refresh button doesn't work for that field yet. Working on it. It's going to be in the next release. Just as the sets, it will always be the first set that is in the drop down list. So this one, if I start it, it will be fuel and fuel. I need to select it to be AP again. Now, most ideally, it does remember your COM ports. I want to implement the same logic in the set fields for the outputs in Dual. So you don't have to re-enter the correct one each time. Like, it's not that big of a work, but every step that you don't have to take, I mean, why should you, right? 73%, so that is still ticking down. Our fuel is getting, well, it's not running low. It's at the airport, I believe it is. So we're going to be lowering a bit. So there were more outputs in the library than there was in the documentation. So there was kind of a mismatch. So I've added them all. I've got a new system where I can just paste all my functions that I've got in the library, paste them in an Excel file, and it will generate this table with the type it returns, what it returns, and what the function is. So go check it out. Many things were in there already, but they just weren't documented. My next goal is also to really tidy up the documentation, just to have a little bit of downtime with the programming and coding, get the documentation up to speed, so you guys can easily implement this, find what you need. During the same time, I also want to implement the LVARs for DLC planes, etc. So that's coming up as well. For now, I would say just start out with this, see how it works, let me know how it works, because that's the most important part. If you guys don't like anything, just let me know and I'll have a look on if things can be improved and how we can improve them together, or just me. If you want to help out, that's fine as well. All this code is open sourced. A link will be in the description as well, just as all the gear that I'm been using. At first, each setting was coded by hand, like this setting is this name, this stores in this, etc. It still is kind of that way, but it has a little settings handler where I say I want a key and a value, save it or retrieve it. A whole new system, so it needed a little bit of a revamp. The old settings might not be transferred to the new system. Check it out for yourself if that's the case for you before you hit start, or don't, but then there is a chance that some things might not line up, like the ranges, for example, the default to 0 to 1 or to 3, but mine are mounted backwards, so I have to flip those around. Now, like I said, want to add a line, just hit the plus button, and it's easy as that. If you hit the plus button, don't forget to hit stop and start again, or else it won't register the new input, output, or dual mode. So yeah, if you got any design ideas as well, let me know, because it also needs a little bit more of attention and love. It looks better than it was, still not perfect. This button, for instance, like, really, Dave, it's not 2002, but that doesn't matter. Now, for those of you that are perhaps a little bit more tech savvy, want to alter something, there is a new file that can be found in the folder where you have the executable. It's called outputs, and it's a JSON file. Now, if we open this, you can open it in just as plain Notepad, that's fine. We can find all the outputs that are available right now. So we have the fuel is a category. So we have fuel and all the items in it. This is an item, this is an item, this is an item. Here we see fuel tank center 2 level, for example. It returns a percentage over 100 and it updates every 0.01. So that's 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. Now, if I change this to 0.1.0, it will only update or send data every 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90%. Now, this gives you a little bit of freedom to change these values to your liking. So if you're like, I want really pinpoint precision on my altitude, and I have a dedicated board that can handle just that, and it doesn't have any interference or anything else, you can, I don't know, do we have altitude in here? Yeah, we do, but let's see where it is. Find next. Indicate altitude. It updates every 10, which is quite big frequent. So if you up this to 100 feet, for instance, every 100 feet, it will send data to your board. So 100, 200, 300. If you're like, no, screw that, I want it every feet for some reason, you're free to do so. Just hit save and it's fine. A note of caution though, if you, I don't know, add an extra comma, or which should be fine, I think, but you start messing with the, like the closing brackets and the opening brackets, there is a chance that it can't load in the outputs. So do it at your own risk. Perhaps make a copy of the outputs.json file before you start altering things, just to make sure that you can retrieve the default file as it is if you need to. Now, the software is starting to become in a place that we can focus more on creating fun projects, creating new hardware, new gear, some fiddly things that we can play around with. So more of that is coming up. We just needed to get this block out of the way that was the dual mode. It needs some tweaking, it needs some fine tuning, but at least the foundation's there. So all the, the grunt work has been done. Now it's all in the refinement. Don't forget, if you want one of these, you connect all your toggles. He even has one of those switches with multiple stances. I don't know how you call them, multi-state switches. No, it's not really the name. Doesn't matter, the big ones. I already used them for the Magneto. These ones, I'm not quite sure what they're called, but you have all these pins. If you rotate, they're really hard to rotate, but you need a cap or else it won't. But multi-switch, 8-pole switches is something they're called, depending on how many poles they have. So first of all, I really want to thank Michael for sending in these PCBs for the Cessna 182, which, it has most of the things you need for general aviation aircraft as well. So if you're not interested in the 182 or 172, will work out fine as well. Or you can hook up anything that you'd like to this board. Just gives you a more central place instead of a breadboard or a proofing board. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments how many flight hours you think I've got in the flight log in the comments down below. The one that's closest will receive one of these for themselves. I will even throw in some of those switches, and I believe they also require some potentiometers and toggle switches, so I'll throw them in for you as well. This update really took some work, so I hope you like it. If you don't, let me know why. That's the most important part. If you don't like something, I want to know why, so we can improve instead. Now, if you did like it, I'd like to know as well, just because so I can sleep better at night. Just kidding, but in all seriousness though, if you made something with the connector, send it to me. I'd love to see it. Send it in the Discord as well if you'd like to. We have a nice community going on with people that are building stuff, asking for tips, coding practices, etc. Got everything covered. If you want to help the channel out, you can also go to the Patreon page. I've been neglecting that one in the past few weeks a little bit, and that's because I stood up, went to work, came home, started coding, and went to bed. That was my schedule for the past 2 weeks. So, sorry guys, you guys are amazing. I want to thank you all, and I'll put a link in the description down below.